Hello and welcome to, well, I'd call this a rant. Like, it isn't really a rant, it is more of a race review, but you'll get it as I continue. I'm the Bosnian guy from the channel, and I just want to talk about the 15th round of the 2018 Formula 1 Championship, the Singapore Grand Prix, in which Mercedes, to be more precise, Lewis Hamilton, dominated from begin to finish. It was just pure domination by Hamilton and Mercedes in the qualifying as well as in the race. The qualifying, well, it saw some, well, Mercedes went on ultra softs for Q1, which almost didn't work out. Then Ferrari went on them for Q2 to try to get to Q3. It would have worked out for Sebastian Vettel, I guess, but Ferrari decided, okay, let's put hyper softs on and just make sure we get to Q3. If they would have made it on the ultras, well, I guess we would have had a better race because different strategies and stuff. But like this, we just set the normal procedure. Pirelli expected a two-stop race. We only got one stop, maybe two stops for some cars. But all in all, it was just a boring race. Lewis Hamilton smashed the pole lap on Saturday. It was a magnificent lap. I have to admit that. Max Verstappen, unbelievable P2. But all in all, some drivers that didn't do that well are like Kevin Magnussen, who I didn't know what happened to him. I really don't know what happened to K-Mag, but only P16. Stoffel van Dorn again 18th, while his teammate Fernando Alonso is 11th. That it just wasn't good. And that is the reason why Stoffel will not have a seat for next season. Deserving, I'm not sure, but yeah. Williams, dreadful. The Williams, I don't care who's driving. I don't care that Lance Stroll and Sergei Sirotkin both are paid drivers. That Williams car is just dreadful. It simply is a piece of garbage. I mean, seriously, they were over 1 second off Stoffel van Dorn's time, which wasn't great in Q1. So the Williams, oh my word, like, they are just... So, before the qualifying, and I guess before the race, Max Verstappen had some software issues with his car, which basically meant that it went into forced neutral a few times, and he even said after the race that, well, it was better during the race, but behind the safety car, his car almost stalled a few times. So good luck with Honda next year, mate. And yeah, so the top 10 in qualifying were Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel, Valtteri Bottas, Kimi Räikkönen, Daniel Ricciardo, Sergio Perez, Romain Grosjean, and Esteban Ocon and Nico Hülkenberg. Just outside of the top 10 were Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc and Marcus Ericsson behind them, Pierre Gasly and Kevin Magnussen, Brendan Hartley and Stoffel van Dorn in 17 and 18, and the last two places, of course, Sergei Sirotkin and Lance Stroll. So, the race starts. Where do we begin? Great start by Hamilton, decent start by Verstappen, great start by Vettel. Vettel, for a split second ahead of Verstappen at the start, there was no contact. Then, turn 3, absolute bonkers move by Perez. Ocon was on the outside, already had the move done basically. Perez has all the space in the world on the left hand side, nobody's there on the left hand side. He pushes Ocon into the wall, doesn't get a penalty for that. I can't understand why he didn't get a penalty. Basically, the Force India from Ocon was wrecked. He had to retire the car. Yellow flags were waved. Vettel down the back straight, basically got Max Verstappen. Not really the back straight, but like the second straight with a little kink in it. Got Max Verstappen just seconds before the safety car went out. So a bit of a Belgian deja vu. And then we had a few laps behind the safety car, which was of course good for everyone's tyres, because Pirelli predicted pit stops around lap 11, 12 maybe. And yeah, of course, 4 or 5 laps of safety car meant that, well, they could save some tyres, they could save some fuel, and hopefully make the race more interesting. Spoiler, it did make the race more interesting. So, after the restart, Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen. Hamilton 1 second ahead of Vettel, Vettel 1 second ahead of Verstappen. All good. Behind them, Bottas, Raikkonen, Ricciardo, and even Perez. Even Perez managed to hang on for a bit to Daniel Ricciardo. And then came the pit stops. And Ferrari made the first move, I guess, by taking Sebastian Vettel, trying the undercut. But it didn't work, did it? Lewis still had almost same sector times like Vettel did, and Lewis pitted them right the lap after Sebastian Vettel, so maybe Vettel gained like half a second, but that just wasn't gonna do it. And because of the early pit stop, Vettel fell behind Sergio Perez, which in the end cost him his place to Max Verstappen, which is kind of unbelievable that you have a driver in P2. Okay, I get it. You want to try to aim for P1, but now imagine that's so stupid. You send your driver out knowingly, you pit him knowingly that he will end up behind Perez within 1 or 2 laps. That is stupid. He can't use those fresh tyres. Leave him out for 1 or 2 laps longer so he can get an advantage and get out of Perez, get out ahead of Perez. But no, we'll pit him, and it's just unbelievable what Ferrari have done. So after the pit stops, Hamilton was leading, Verstappen was second again, Vettel third, Bottas was fourth, Raikkonen fifth, and Ricciardo was sixth on a different tyre strategy. And Ferrari even sent out Vettel on Ultras, I believe, or Supers. Hyper, Ultra, and Soft. Which, it is nice. It is nice, like, seeing again that we have, like, a gap between, like, we didn't go super soft, ultra soft, hyper soft, but we rather went soft, ultra, hyper. I'd actually more like it if it were, like, medium, super, hyper, because then we would, like, have, okay, the hypers are fast but don't last long, the mediums are slow as fuck but they last long, and we would have, like, more different strategies. Should we do, like, a 2-stop and, like, put on 2 sets of ultras, or just, like, a 1-stop and put on mediums? What will be faster? But all in all, it's good that we at least skip 1 tire compound and not go, like, okay, we have 3 compounds in a row, like, I don't know, even hard, medium, soft, we choose them. That would be stupid. I like the skipping thing. Yeah, and after the pit stops, well, I mean, Lewis Hamilton just dominated the race. Can't say anything else. There was just one time where his lead was actually quite a bit in danger, and that was, I believe, lap 36. Lewis Hamilton was lapping the cars of it was, I believe, Roman Grosjean, Sergei Sirotkin, Pierre Gasly was in the mix, I believe, or Brendan Hartley, I'm not sure. And he was lapping them. And, well, Sirotkin and Grosjean were having a big fight for position. So they ignored the blue flags. And not for like 1 or 2 marshal posts, but like for half a lap. That's basically 11, 12 marshal posts, which cost Lewis Hamilton 5 or 6 seconds, which allowed Max Verstappen to be side by side with Lewis Hamilton. If Grosjean and Sirotkin didn't move out of the way, like in that corner they did move out of the way, there's a big chance that Max Verstappen would have got Lewis Hamilton. There's a big chance that would have happened, and we know how hard it is to overtake in Singapore, which means there was a chance for Max Verstappen to win the race. Wouldn't have been a clean victory, would have been a very, very lucky victory if really that's not getting out of the way by Sirotkin and Grosjean ended up costing Lewis Hamilton the lead, but fortunately for him it didn't. Grosjean and Sirotkin both received a 5-second time penalty, which in my opinion is just bollocks. 5 seconds is nothing. You could have ruined the race leader's race, could have made him lose the lead of the race, and he get a 5-second penalty. I don't say that they should be like banned for the next race or whatever, but a 5-second grid penalty for the next race, fair enough. That would be fair enough. Like, okay, if you ignore the blue flags for like 1 or 3 marshal, 1, 2, 3, 4 marshal posts, it's okay. But they did it like for half of the fucking lap, which just isn't acceptable. Oh, and I just forgot to mention, I'm talking about Sirotkin. Great drive by Sergei Sirotkin. Defended against Sergio Perez, like, absolutely unbelievable. I know people don't like him because they say he got the seat because of money, but he is doing really, really great right now. The car is shit, but he is really getting, I guess, the maximum out of it. He was defending against Perez. Perez was a bit desperate. He crashed with his teammate in turn 3 of lap 1. He just didn't leave the room, and later on he was then complaining to his team. He said something like, "Complain to Charlie, get that Williams out of the way, or they want me to crash." Like, I would have understood it if if he was lapping the Williams, but no, he was fighting for position with Sirotkin. Why would Sirotkin give up his position? I mean, yeah, probably Sirotkin would have had to pit once more, so he would have fell behind Perez anyway. But that's just stupid. Why should anyone give up their position on track? And Sirotkin did a great job defending, and then Perez basically T-boned him. He got a penalty for that, a deserved penalty for that, and still in the end managed to finish ahead of Sirotkin in P16. Well, and one more, there was one more thing in the race, like one more exciting thing in the whole race. 61 laps, all excitement happened maybe in 5 laps. The last exciting thing was the fight between the Red Bull bound Pierre Gasly and the second youngest Ferrari driver of all time come next season, Charles Leclerc. Leclerc had already new tyres, I know. Gasly was on the edge with his tyres, but they had a fight. They had a really good fight. It was entertaining as fuck. Gasly didn't give up. He was fighting, he was defending, but before like the straights, after the Anderson Bridge, I guess. Yeah, it was after the Anderson Bridge. that straight. Coming over the Anderson Bridge, Gasly locked up, and Leclerc just used the advantage that had given him. So, yeah, good job, Charles. Good job, Charles Leclerc. Good job, Pierre Gasly. It will be real fun to watch them next season in better cars, even though I'm not sure how the Red Bull will do because of the Honda engines they will have next year. But I guess Pierre Gasly already used the Honda engines with this year's Star, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting next year. And the championship standings, the top 5 only. Lewis Hamilton leading with 281 points, 40 points ahead of Sebastian Vettel on 241 points. Third place, Kimi Räikkönen, 174, and Valtteri Bottas in 4th with 171. So, Vettel, technically, if Sebastian Vettel wins every race until the end of the season and Lewis Hamilton finishes 2nd, Vettel would win the championship by 2 points. So technically, he still has it in his own hands. He doesn't depend on driver errors by Hamilton, but 40 points is a lot. Yeah, the Finnish battle for P3, Räikkönen and Bottas, 3 points between them. Räikkönen, I don't see him doing much better, because why should he? He's lost his Ferrari seat. I guess he doesn't have any motivation right now. So yeah. Constructors, Renault is now in P4. I mean, they were before, but Renault in P4, Haas P5, Red Bull P3. And at the top, I guess Ferrari and Mercedes are still like... They're battling for that, but I don't see Ferrari coming out on top. Even as a Ferrari fan, yeah, I am a Ferrari fan, but I don't see the Scuderia coming out on top this year, and nor next year, to be honest. The lap record was set, yeah, the fastest lap, and I believe it is the lap record. Let me just check. Yeah, it's the lap record. It was set on lap 50. It is the first fastest lap for both Haas and Kevin Magnussen. Basically what happened, he wasn't going to get points. So he just pitted late in the race, put on a new set of, I believe, Ultras or Hypers, not sure about that, and just blasted and smashed the lap record. It's 141.905. And that just shows how slow the Williams is. I'm just going back to the Williams. That shows how slow the Williams is. Because Lance Stroll's qualifying time in Q1 was 141.334. Kevin Magnussen has a race lap of 141.905, only 0.6 seconds slower. The Williams is a dreadful car. And Lord help them. They will need it. And yeah, the race was boring. The top 6 finished in the order they started in. Hamilton, Verstappen, Vettel, Bottas, Raikkonen, and Ricciardo. P7 Alonso, P8 Sainz, P9 Charles Leclerc, P10 Hülkenberg. So there are the top 10, there are the points finishers. Then P11 Ericsson, P12 Van Dorn. In the end, did a decent enough job, still far behind Fernando Alonso. P13 Gasly, 14 Stroll, 15 Romain Grosjean, who had a 5-second penalty, 16 Sergio Perez, 17 Brandon Hartley, 18 Kevin Magnussen, who was 2 laps down in the end, 19 Sergei Sirotkin, and the only retirement was Esteban Ocon, who did 3 corners of the race. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Sorry for the fucking long video. Sorry for the rant. Enjoy the other videos. Talk to you later. Bye.